You're listening to the Fierce Fatty Podcast, episode 132, Raising Fat Positive Kids. I'm your host, Vinny Wellsby. Let's do it.
Perfect.
I'm Victoria Wellsby, TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and fat activist. I have transformed my life from hating my body with desperately low self-esteem to being a courageous and confident, fierce fatty who loves every inch of this jelly. Society teaches us living in a fat body is bad, but what if we spent less time, money, and energy on the pursuit of thinness and instead focused on the things that actually matter, like if pineapple on pizza should be outlawed, or if the mullet was the greatest haircut of the 20th century. So, how do you stop negative beliefs about your fat body controlling your life? It's the Fierce Fatty Podcast. Let's begin. Hello, welcome to our episode. How you doing? How's life? Is it great? I hope it is. I'm back after a week off, and you might be able to hear little Dougie, my dog, in the background today. He's running around a little anxious because he's so sensitive. A neighbour 2 doors down, their smoke alarm battery needs changing, and you know that little beep that it does? That he's terrified of that beep, and he can hear it through the hallway into our apartment, and it's been going on for like 3 days, and it really scares him. I left a note on the neighbour's door being like, I'm sorry, but my dog is a baby. Yeah, he can hear it through the night with the bedroom door closed, with the two front doors and then a bedroom, 3 doors in between the beeping, and he can still hear it, and he's like sitting on my head at night and pacing, and poor baby. And because this weekend I took him to a river here in Vancouver, and we threw some sticks. We had a gay old time. It was very fun. And then he got a parasite, and so he was shitting his pants for 4 days until he started medication. Through the night, it felt like I had a child, and I don't want children, and so it reinforced my child-free status, because I was like, how do parents do this? Like, waking up at 2, 5, 7 to take him downstairs so he can do a poo. I was like, how the fuck? How do people go and then like go to work, and it's not just, the few days that I experienced. And when I took him to the doctor was like, monitor him, see how he gets on. And then eventually I took him in, and they were like, oh, the medicine will take 48 hours to work. And I was like, 48 hours? I can't handle not getting enough sleep for another 48 hours. Luckily, it worked immediately. So I was like, oh, thank God. So, I mean, kudos to any parent who is even like getting up once in the night. And that's like, if you have a baby, then I'm sure it goes on for like a year or 2 or 3 or fuck if I know, 10, 20, 18 years. Yeah. So, and then the weekend before, bless Doogie, what a little baby. We were at the beach, different beach. We're at the seaside this time, throwing sticks, having a gay old time again. And he rips off his dew claw, which is his thumb claw. If you're not a dog owner, or just hanging off. And he was like, my foot. And I was like, oh my God. Took him to the emergency vet. They had to cut it off, and he had a little bandage on his foot in the colour of a giraffe, and a cone on his head for a week, and medicine and stuff. So he just recovered from that. And then I was like, let's have some fun and go to the lake. And then he gets a like parasite. We haven't confirmed what it is. I have to send his poo off for testing to confirm what it is, what's going on, or some bacteria or whatever. So, and now the fire alarm thing. So if you hear him running around, he's like, I'm scared. So, and during the podcast, I can't be playing music, so that's what I've been doing, playing music to distract him, so he can't hear. And so I've stopped the music, start recording the podcast, and he's like, I can hear that again. What are you doing? Why is it so scary? Yeah, so hey, here's a little update for you. If you are an Instagram user, and I think even if you're a Facebook user too, it might work for Facebook too. There is a new way. Instagram has made a change so that you can remove weight loss ads. So what you do, I'm going to link to a post in the show notes. So if you forget and you need a reminder or images to point you how to do it, is you go to your Instagram and then you go to your profile, and when you're on your profile, there's the 3 lines, the burger icon thing. You click the 3 lines, you go to settings, the gear icon, which is at the very top. From there you go to ads, click that, then you go to add topics, and then you'll search for body weight control. Body weight control. Now, I'm in Canada. Body weight control didn't come up for me. So it might be, if you're elsewhere, body weight control will come up. But I did search the word diet. And so lots of different diet stuff came, like weight loss diet. There was no weight loss. I just searched for weight loss too. But for many people, it's probably going to work. For some reason, my Instagram is all over the place, and I'll get some features, but not other features. So hopefully this is a feature that you can have. If you don't have body weight control, you can maybe do diet and look for the diet stuff, and you just say see less. And so you can't say don't see, but see less. It's either no preference or see less. So little tip for you there. Also, I noticed I changed my gender on Facebook to male, and I got like adverts for things like beef and shaving and man and muscles and cars and shit, you know. I think my gender there is non-binary, and so they're like, now I changed it, and they're like, oh, okay, non-binary. These motherfuckers are going to get diet ads. Yeah, so little tip for you there, little tip for the other. Now, today's episode, we are talking about children, those children, and, you know, those things, I said I'm child-free, but I do like children. Used to be one all those years ago. Like children, I just don't want them for myself. And one of my members of Fierce Fatty Academy, which is my program to help people unlearn fat phobia, recently had the experience of taking her son to the doctor, who proceeded to lecture on how her son was too big and questioned what she feeds him and how much he exercises. That's where I would wish I could be like buddies with, you know, be like a little, I don't know, come up on your shoulder in those moments and be like, oh really? This is what we're gonna say to this motherfucking doctor. Or I just like manifest in the room like poof, like, you know, what was that? I Dream of Jeannie. And then the mum would just come into the room and she was like a genie or something. Anyway, you know, you just be like, shake your nose, wiggle, twitch your nose, do a little nod, and then poof, here I go, non-binary, fat, positive, God X, there to be like, excuse me, but we're not doing this BS today. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about, you know, what I would do in that instance if everything was perfect and you could do all the perfect things, which is probably not likely, but you know, the perfect solution to that, and then like the imperfect, we're trying to be the best we can be, and talking about child stuff, and something that's a stat that I had seen a couple of years ago from, I'm going to link to the account. Go back. Come on. Yeah, so the account is Alyssa Rumsey RD, a registered dietitian, thin white person, just a heads up there, shared the stat because she'd looked at information on, she's written a book a couple of years ago, and she looked at information on, well, how prevalent is things like eating disorders in kids? How prevalent is things like type 2 diabetes, which society says is caused by fatness? And so we see the message that, oh my God, childhood fatness rates are out of control, and there's just fat kids roaming around eating the good thin kids and destroying the world. And yeah. I'm going to go through some stats here, but basically a stat that Alyssa shared, which, like a heads up, she's not saying that fatness is caused by type 2 diabetes, but people think that, right? So this is the stat that she shares. Children are 242 times more likely to suffer from an eating disorder than they are from type 2 diabetes. If you took a sample of 100,000 children, only 12 would have type 2 diabetes, but 2,900 would meet the criteria for an eating disorder. And again, fatness does not cause diabetes. You cannot eat your way into diabetes. Diabetes is a genetic condition. We have higher rates in we have like other things that might affect it in regards to marginalization and oppression, race, things like that, but it's not something that fatness causes, or you can eat your way into being diabetic. And so if we're worried about fat kids, what we should be worried about is the stigma that those fat kids are experiencing, and not telling them to not be fat because it's not helpful, and they're 242 times more likely to experience disordered eating disorder. You know. So I'm going to link to these, but we've got stats from nationaleatingdisorders.org, and I'm going to link to Alyssa's story highlights, which also links to the studies that show like what are rates of childhood diabetes, what are rates of eating disorders in children, let's look at the rates of childhood fatness, and then and big content warning there, because there's O words all over the place, and there's stigmatizing language all over the place, because some of the stuff about like, oh my God, all of the kids are fat and they're just so terrible and stuff, obviously has a shit ton of awful stuff in it, and then they're like, oh, actually, just, whatever, a few kids are fat, whatever, no big deal, but it's terrible. So just caution on that. And also in this episode, I'm just going to be briefly talking about things like eating disorder prevalence and things like that. So if that doesn't feel good to you, or concerns about weight in kids, then skip this episode, or skip like 15 minutes ahead, because then I'll be talking about how to raise a fat positive kid. Okay, so some stats. Give me some stats. I love a stat. By age 6, girls especially start to express concerns about their own weight or shape. 40 to 60% of elementary school girls aged 6 to 12 are concerned about their weight or about becoming too fat. And this concern endures through life. So kids are at the age of 6 are picking up this message. And this is what this study is saying, but I would hazard to guess that it's a lot younger than 6. And I'm thinking about when kids start to understand like who's part of the in group and who's part of the out group, and who's friends and who's not friends, and if they're not exposed to certain types of people, then they can see them as the out group. And I guess so this is a guess, just me thinking about me sitting and watching cartoons with my nibblings, the fat phobic, food restrictive diet culture messages from like fucking Coco Melon. Oh, it's so awful. I'm just like, what? You know, like the one, if you know Coco Melon, the one it's like, ooh, daddy snuck and ate some sugar. What a naughty daddy. Oh, mummy ate and binged eat some things. Oh, what a naughty mummy. Oh, we've caught Timmy or whatever his name is, Jimmy, and Jimmy ate some cookie. Oh, what? Oh dear. We're going to be a good family now and eat some vegetables and fruit. It's like, what the fuck? Or like Peppa Pig, where it's always like, Dad, you're a fat fucking bastard the whole time. It's like, really? Is that the dad's character? Is all just that he's a fat slob? Like, and he needs to lose weight? What? I thought Peppa Pig was, you know, the source of American children picking up British accents. Not this bullshit, but yeah, it turns out it is. And, you know, I've probably only watched 1,000 hours of kids shows with my nibblings. And so, you know, I don't have as much of an idea as people who watch more, right? You know, kids and stuff and parents and caretakers. So, okay, the best known environmental contributor to the development of eating disorders is socio-cultural idealization of thinness. Let me read that again. The best known environmental contributor to the development of eating disorders is the idealization of thinness. Of American elementary school girls who read magazines, 69% say that the pictures influence their concept of what the ideal body shape is. 47% said the pictures make them want to lose weight. Children of mothers who are overly concerned about their weight are at an increased risk of modeling their unhealthy attitudes and behaviors. An estimated 90 to 95% of college students diagnosed with an eating disorder also belong to a fitness facility. Interesting. 42% of first to third grade girls want to be thinner. In elementary school, fewer than 25% of girls diet regularly, yet those who do not know what dieting involves can talk about calorie restriction and food choices for weight loss fairly effectively. Yeah, so that was definitely me. You know, I engaged in behaviors which now I would say is like over-exercising, dieting, eating disorder, you know, things like not eating, and I wouldn't have said like, this is a diet. Oh, this is me trying to lose weight. You know, I knew that I was doing those things to try and be thinner, but it wasn't, you know, I didn't connect the dots. It was just behaviors versus understanding what those behaviors were. 81% of 10-year-olds are afraid of being fat. 46% of 9 to 11-year-olds are sometimes or very often on diets, and 82% of their families are sometimes or very often on diets. Oh, 82% of 9 to 11-year-olds, parents, families are sometimes or very often on diets. Just the thought of kids being, I know, I've experienced it, and millions of people do, and kids do. And I mean, like, how many people listening to the show is a fat person who experienced their parents or a caretaker or someone influential in their life when they were younger dieting or wanting to be thinner or having food rules and all that type of diet culture behavior? Like, loads of us. Over 50% of teenage girls and nearly 1/3 of teenage boys use weight control behaviors such as skipping meals, fasting, smoking cigarettes, vomiting, and taking laxatives. Just a heads up. A lot of this data is very white. It's very cis. There's a real lack of information on compared to, white cis kids, on, studies looking at trans kids or queer kids or kids from different backgrounds. There's more of the stuff for people of color, more so than maybe gender diverse kids, but still compared to the white cis stuff, it's like, night and day with the amount of information. But still, there's still not enough information about all of this stuff. There is, and all of these, if you want links to all of these studies, they're all under this 2 documents that I'm going to link to in the show notes. Show notes for this one is fiercefatty.com/132. 132. So there's a table here on prevalence versus funding. Despite the prevalence of eating disorders, they continue to receive inadequate research funding. So they're showing different things and the prevalence. So Alzheimer's disease prevalence is 5.1 million. The NIH research funds 450 million. Autism 3.6 million prevalence, and the funds 160 million. Schizophrenia 3.4 million prevalence and 276 million in research funds. Eating disorders, there are many. The prevalence is 30 million. So all of the other prevalences were 533 million, and this one is 30 million. So the research funds is 28 million. So the other ones were 450, 160, 267 million, and then in this one's only 28. So they say here research dollars spent on Alzheimer's disease averaged $88 per affected individual in 2011. For schizophrenia, the amount was 81. For autism, 44. For eating disorders, the average amount of research dollars per affected individual was just 93 cents. And this is from the National Institute of Health, 2011. And I wonder with the autism one, how much is that? Is the, what was that? That model who used to, was she like a Playboy, or Jenna McCarthy, who was like, autism, vaccines cause autism. And so there's been a bananas amount of research to prove that vaccines don't cause autism. Way too much. And so I wonder like how much of that 3.6 million, this is 2011, I don't know. Yeah, it would have been going on in 2011. Of that is to debunk pseudoscience. So yes. So we've got links to all of this juicy stuff, and basically the research that we do have on people who are not white and cis is that it's more prevalent and obviously treated less, and there are more other things going on at the same time. So if someone's got BED, binge eating disorder, then they've also got things like PTSD or low self-esteem, more likely if you're also marginalized in other ways, is what the research is kind of beginning to show. But again, it's not robust enough to have any really clear conclusions. So just kind of pointing that out of if there's any other marginalizations going on, then it's probably even more difficult to deal with and to get diagnosed and to get help, as it is for kids, as it is for adults, right? So what we know about kids is that they're fucking going through it. They are going through it when it comes to learning that thinness is best, and they are learning that they need to be thin in order to be whatever it is that they've been taught that thinness entails. And if you think about what you might have learned thinness entails and what comes with thinness as a kid, then it's probably pretty heartbreaking. I know for me, a big part of what I learned in my childhood was that because I'm fat, I will never get a boyfriend. That's the big message I heard, that you're never going to get a boyfriend. No one's ever going to love you. And also, don't dream too big, because your fatness is going to stop you achieving things. And the big one, like I remember, is seeing an opera singer on Songs of Praise. If you're British, you will know that song, which was know that TV program, which was on a Sunday. Really fucking boring, and it was just people singing songs for Jesus. Very, very boring program. Anyway, there was an opera singer on Songs of Praise, and I was like, Mummy, I want to be an opera singer. And she said, no, you can't be an opera singer because you're fat. I don't think she'd heard of the the fat lady sings and fat opera thing, like, because isn't that like the cliche that, the Pavarotti and opera singers are fat, right? I don't know, but I think she was thinking about, being a pop star or whatever. Yeah. So, and me saying the story about my mum, it's not like my mum was like, what can I do to fuck up this child's life? She was thinking, I'm presuming, obviously I can't read her mind, but she was thinking, okay, well, if my child wants to be a singer, well, what do they have to do to become successful as a singer? They need to be thin. So I'm going to help them by telling them, great idea, being a singer is a wonderful thing, so why don't you become thin so you can make it happen? Like, I'm presuming that was a thought process behind her thinking, but the message that I got was a little bit different. The message I got was, you're a fucking fat loser, and even if you are good at singing, it doesn't matter because you're fat, and no one wants to see a fat person singing, is what I heard. And with the saying, you're never going to get a boyfriend if you're fat. I again, maybe there was a little bit of malice of, I was misbehaving, and she was like, oh, I'm going to stick it to them. But I think mostly it was, I really want you to be in the best position in life to achieve what you want to achieve, and thinness is going to get you there. And so you should become thin. Same way as my mum would encourage us to go to university, and I played the trumpet for years, and she would encourage me to do that. And because we came from a very, very poor household with a lot of other things happening too, like my dad was using alcohol, and we lived in an awful neighborhood, and I'd experienced sexual assault as a young child and things like that. So I'm thinking that she wanted us to do these extracurricular things, get to university, be attractive, be healthy, so that we could get out of poverty, we could get out of abusive situations. And in some ways that was helpful, because 3 of the 4 of us who grew up together, and actually my other siblings too, they all happened to go to university too, but 3 of the 4 of us growing up who grew up together, we did all go to university, which was coming from where we came from, was very surprising. Like, I wouldn't know anyone else in my neighborhood who would have also gone to university, right? And luckily in the UK, if you're poor, the government pays for university, which is wonderful. And that's how we managed to get there. And because my mum was very kind of like, let's, you're smart. She would tell us that we're smart. But with the telling me that I was fat, because I was the fat one, right? That did not help me get out of shitty situations. In fact, it put me into shitty situations, right? Because empowering me to say, you're smart, you can go to university, was empowering and felt good, whereas you are fat and you should be thin was not empowering. It was filled with shame And what we know when we shame people to not be fat is it does the opposite. Not that being fat is a bad thing, but shame is not a good motivator. And, you know, that fear of, oh my God, what if you do become fat? And I'm guessing a lot of parents are like, well, I'm trying to protect my kid because the world doesn't like it if you don't conform. I don't want my kid to be queer or trans or fat or, you know, any of the things where they could be a target for discrimination. Thing is though, you're starting the discrimination at home, you know, it's like kind of like, I'm going to make sure that they feel marginalized. So here, so they conform, so they don't feel marginalized outside, but they feel marginalized at home and outside because they're not going to change their identity probably. And then they know that the place that should be filled with love and acceptance is not. So, but I know, like, it's kind of like, I feel like I get it, but the logic is faulty. And especially, you know, I'm 37, so, you know, 30 years ago, whatever, we weren't really talking about this as much, this stuff. So hopefully the next generation is gonna if I had kids, hopefully I would not fuck my kids up as much in regards to that, you know, body stuff and food stuff. I'd probably fuck them up in some other way, and then 30 years time, they'll be on a podcast being like, yeah, man, my parent, Vinny, they were just a fucking piece of shit and they did this. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not ashamed of your body, are you? And I'm like, yeah, but you ruined my life in this way. Yeah, so yeah, when I was saying about how being taught that being fat was bad, what that led me to was, and I've spoke about it on the show before, at the age of 17, my first boyfriend was 30-year-old, and he was abusive in many different ways, and I always just thought, I'm so lucky that he would even talk to me, that he would want to be with me, because I'm fat. Right? Like, this is all I deserve because I'm fat, you know, because I had that, you're never going to get a boyfriend if you're fat. Oh my God, I've got a boyfriend. I'm having sex with someone. Someone wants to have sex with me, even though I am this awful, disgusting person. And now I'm like, no, what a little angel you were, oh my God. And obviously experienced abuse, which was awful. Yeah, so it didn't help me because I was constantly just like, how can I get thin? I need to be thin because if I'm thin, then I'm going to receive love and praise and lots of good things. Okay, so how can we protect our kids? And obviously I don't have kids, so I'm not an expert on how to talk to kids, but I know about creating environments which are supportive to fat positivity. So in this example, the story that I shared at the beginning, the doctor saying your child is fat and oh my God, it must be because they are doing XYZ and you're a terrible parent. And, you know, kids have been taken from their parents because they are fat, which is fucked up. 1,000,000,000% totally fucked up. Not okay. Because guess what? Fat kids exist, have always existed, will always exist. Fatness is just a normal part of being a human being. You know? Yeah, now. And I think about it, we're so stressed about, is my kid fat? Let's not have fat kids because it's going to mean that this and that and whatever. That as soon as a kid starts showing any signs that of like, you know, being chubby or fat or whatever, then, you know, people are like doing the sign of the cross and being like, oh my God, please. We need to stop this before it gets out of control. And they pathologize a normal kid's body and start messing around with it, you know? And I think about how how humans grow, and how if you've not seen a kid for a couple of years or a year or over the summer or whatever, and they're like 10 and they've gone from 10 to the age of 10 and a half or 11, and then you see them and you're like, what the fuck, you've grown like 17 feet, like you used to be at my knees and now you're taller than me, what the heck? and it's we wouldn't be like, oh my god, quick, get them to the doctor, they've got this weird stretch thing going on, and we've got all of these stretched kids going out here and just being tall. And no, we'd be like, oh, well, that's just a normal part of growing. And just because some kids might grow taller quicker, and some kids might grow wider and then tall and then maybe wider some more and then maybe a little bit taller, but maybe not, and so if the kid is not doing the wide and the tall at the same time, or just the tall and not the wide, then we're like, oh my god, a kid can't just do the wide. And we just be like, oh, well, the child is growing, I just think about how it's kind of like just overreacting. When I say overreacting, there should be no reaction apart from supporting a kid in living maybe temporarily in a body that is marginalized. Maybe they just happen to be a fat child that turns into a fat adult, and that's absolutely fine too. And that's, no problem whatsoever. And so the only thing that we would need to do to react to that, and even if we had small kids, is to talk about discrimination and talk about body diversity. So in this instance, the doctor is like, your kid's fat and you are a piece of shit because you have a fat kid. So this is dream world. This is if you knew it was coming, had rehearsed your script beforehand, was feeling great, had no social anxiety. There was no power imbalance between you and the doctor. All of them, perfect stars need to align. That is probably not going to happen for most people, and that's through no fault of your own. Is if the doctor starts talking about the child's weight, is saying, I'm going to stop you right there. Hey child, can you step outside if that's possible? Or can we talk in private, doctor or healthcare provider? So that's the first thing. Can we remove the child from experiencing potential trauma? We might not be able to, right? Like if it's a 3-year-old, you can't be like, oh, 3-year-old, go outside and, play with some traffic. But if that's possible, we want to try and avoid the kid experiencing it. Then saying to the doctor, I don't expose my kids to weight bias. So we don't talk about that. We don't talk about weight like it's a problem. That's not going to happen. Again, this is dream world that you might say this. If you can say this, like if someone can say this during the doctor's visit, I would be like, wow. Because there's so much going on, right? You're going to go in for a doctor's visit and you're not expecting the doctor to be a bell end. Well, maybe we are. If you're fat, then you probably are. But in that moment, even someone like me, your brain is like, oh my god, what's happening? Oh shit, it's happening. Oh my god, they're saying this thing. Oh god, the child is hearing it. Oh, what do I say? And then you're like, well, I think it's fine. You'll come out with something, and that's normal because our brains are like, fight, flight, freeze, that type of thing. So, and so if you can't say to the doctor, listen, let's not talk about this. You could, just nod and smile and be like, yeah, sure, great, whatever, and defend your child as much as you can. But if you can't do that for whatever reason, then you can do damage control after you leave the doctor. So it's that remove, reduce, protect that I've spoken to you a lot about before. Can you remove the thing? Maybe, maybe not. Can you reduce the exposure? Can you say, okay, end of conversation. Oh, actually, I'm here today to talk about little Timmy's knees or whatever. Can we get back to that? And they'll be like, yes, because he's got sore knees because he's fat. And then if you can't reduce, can you protect? And so protect that gorgeous brain of yours and of your children, multiple, whatever. And so depending on their age, you may want to have a conversation with them afterwards about what happened and how they feel about it, and reassure them that there's nothing wrong with their body and that doctors can hold biases and stigma. They might be a little bit too young for that stuff. You might want to not have a direct conversation and instead make a bigger effort to fill their brain with fat positive goodness, whether that's not watching Peppa Pig that day and instead watching something which is more fat positive. Unfortunately, I don't know I can't give you a recommendation on shows, but I'm sure there's probably lots. There's probably lots. I don't talk about fat stuff. You can give them order some books or get it from the library. And in the show notes, I have got a list of books for you. A list of like about 30 books in a range of ages for you. Yeah, filling their brain with fat positive goodness, because a lot of the books, even if we don't have media that kids are consuming that is specifically anti-fat, the media that kids will consume the same as us is so there's no diversity, right? There's no diversity. And so even if it's like, oh, it's Power Rangers, but where's the fat Power Ranger? There's only one, is there one or two? Like, is there one black Power Ranger and then there's one Asian Power Ranger? But anyway, they've got hats on, so you can't even see. But you know what I'm saying? That can we remove the egregious stuff if possible, not always, but can we also see if there's something that's a little bit more diverse? And the same with books, like when I'm reading books to my nibblings, I'm like, wow, like every fucking character is white. What? What is going on? And that's just standard, right? The toys, it's just white and thin, So yeah, if we can make some type of changes there. But you know what, the biggest thing that you can do is to work on how you think about yourself, how you talk about yourself, and the modeling of behaviors for your kids. If they see someone who's dieting and saying fat is bad and all that type of stuff, then they're probably going to pick it up. If they see people being chill around food and around bodies and saying, oh, fat bodies are cool, and just not making it a big deal, then they're going to pick up on that too. They're obviously going to pick up on the shit stuff when they leave the house too, and we can't stop that happening. But we have such power in those more intimate relationships that we'd have with family. And everyone's gonna fuck up, right? Everyone is trying to do their best in life, and so there are gonna be times where you fuck up and you're like, oh god. But if we're moving towards a place where kids know that they're safe and they have a safe spot to land in regards to their body and their uniqueness is beautiful, right? And we're talking about food. If you want to learn more about raising an intuitive eating kid, then and there's that book, Body Happy Kids, that I'm in, and then Ellen Satter Institute talks about the division of responsibility from toddlers onwards. And so the division of responsibility with kids, this is raising an intuitive eating child, is you decide what, when and where a child is fed, and the child decides whether and how much. And so like a simple thing that I see is a simple switch that we can make is thinking about how the way that we talk about food. Like sweets, oh, they're bad. The sweets you have after dinner, the sweets are the treat. Eat the dinner first because that's the yucky food, that's the boring food, and then you can have the good food. The little switch that you can do is giving dessert with dinner at the same time, and knowing that the kid is probably, at least for the first bit, going to be having the thing which is the dessert item, and asking for more, and then you're going to give them as much as they want because they have learnt that thing is like magical and maybe a little bit taboo, and you can't have it because if you do then you're going to get fat, and oh my god, fat is bad. And imagine if we gave that message about other things, like if you were like, oh, don't eat so many peas, no, you can only have peas after you finished your cookie, no, you can only have 3 peas, you can't have 4 peas, and hiding the peas in a high cupboard so they can't get access to them, and you secretly eating peas and then saying, oh my god, I had some peas, I'm such a bad person and I should stop eating the peas. They are gonna start being like, peas, give me the peas, when can I have my peas, come on now, I want some peas. And of course, cookies probably do taste nicer than peas to kids, and but we're really really working hard to help kids be disordered around food, right, and make it a big deal. And if we work to not make it a big deal and just give kids as much food as they want, within, there will be rules set too. Like, I'm not an expert in this, but for example, you're just about to make dinner and the kid says, oh, can I have food? And you say, oh, it's not, because you decide when, right? You can say, yeah, absolutely, we're going to have dinner in 10 minutes and so we're going to eat then. Or they might say at nighttime, how kids stall to get into bed and they're like, I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, I need to go to the toilet. And so if they're like, I'm hungry, the messaging that you are, that you're saying of like, you're not hungry, you're being greedy or whatever, something like that, versus, oh yeah, absolutely, the kitchen's closed right now, but if what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to remind you when the kitchen's open again so that you can have some food, and not, shaming them or telling them, making out like it's a bad thing. So that's a simple thing that we could do. So let me round up everything that we're talking about. How to raise a fat positive child. So talking about fat phobia and body politics, and depending on the age of your kid, talking about how the world is fucked up, and but we don't fix bullying by giving the bully our lunch money, and so we're not going to change our bodies in order to adhere to what society might say or do to us or say about us, because it's not okay to judge people, and especially in the home environment as well, and tell them that they are worthy no matter what they look like or what they do. Never put them on a diet unless it's like a diet for medical reasons, like your child has epilepsy and they need to do keto, but never putting them on a diet. Standing up for their rights if the doctor tells them that they need to lose weight, or if the school sends a letter home saying your kid is fat, or they've got work to do, which is weighing themselves. Standing up for them and saying that that's not appropriate to the school or the doctor. If you can do that, that is beautiful. Don't shame their body in any way or shame them for wearing certain types of clothes. Don't bully them into moving their body. Movement's great and all, but it's more important to not cause damage to their relationship with movement. And that's something that a lot of adults bring into life, is trauma around being forced to do the 1,500 meter run at PE. Oh my god, 1,500, I hated it. And monitor what the media they're consuming. So are they watching hours of Peppa Pig where they constantly go on about how the dad's a fat bastard and he needs to lose weight? Can we also sprinkle in something that's more positive? Can we buy books that celebrate body diversity? Don't force them to spend time with people who are raging weight bigots or diet culture zealots. If they have to, for whatever reason, talk to them about the types of things they're being exposed to and how it's not okay and all that type of stuff. But the number one thing that you can do is unlearn all of that stuff that we learn as kids, and model behavior to show that your body is a-okay the size it is. Food is not a big deal. And remember the stat about kids being 242 times more likely to suffer from an eating disorder than type 2 diabetes. Not that being fat causes diabetes at all, but if you have a fat kid and the doctor's like, oh my god, they're about to spontaneously combust and get all these terrible things, the chances are that they are 242 times more likely to get an eating disorder than they are type 2 diabetes. And so what we really need to worry about is protecting children's gorgeous brains and not making a big deal if they're fat, because being fat is just a normal part of being a human being. So if you want the list of books, so this list of books, like I've been gathering it for, a list of different types of books and stuff. So this is kids' books, but a new one that came out is Celebrate Your Body and Its Changes Too by Sonya Renee Taylor. The Ultimate Puberty Book for Girls, that looks fun. And Body Image, Because All Bodies Are Great by Tierra, Hohn. We've got also things like C is for Consent. It's Okay to Be Different by Todd Parr. Karma Culler's Mustache. That sounds fun. So we've got, like young adult, we've got, baby stuff and everything in between, right? So The Intuitive Eating Workbook for Teens, a non-diet, body-positive approach to building a healthy relationship with food by Elise Resch. So go check out the show notes for different book recommendations. Show notes are at foodciety.com/132. Also links to all the studies for the things that I was talking about. And listen, if you're a parent, if you're a human, you fucked up, right? We've all fucked up and done things and been like, oh god. We're all trying our best, and we're all, kind of working towards moving to be better and all that type of stuff. And even if you have fucked up, we can have conversations and say, hey, I think I fucked up with that. I was talking to my mum a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, you know what, I feel really guilty about one of you, I can't remember which kid. She said, oh, but you got your exam results and I was disappointed and it made you cry. And I was like, oh yeah, that was me actually. And I was like, yeah, I remember that. And she's like, I feel really guilty about it and I just want to say sorry. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, well, thanks, I appreciate that. And that was like 20 years ago. And she like remembered it, and it's been on her mind and apologized. And obviously we've talked a lot about the fat stuff and dieting and all that type of stuff. So even if we do fuck up, I think sometimes fucking up means that we can also have the chance to build nice relationships, to say, yeah, we fucked up and what can we do to make it better. And I really saw that when I was doing a course. It was called Daring Greatly, Brené Brown. Brené Brown is, I've since learned by doing this course, super fat phobic. And so I was doing this course and with my therapist office, and my therapist office is great, really, really good. And so they were showing videos of Brené Brown had made, and we'd be going through this course material, and one of the videos, she was saying some really fucking inappropriate shit. And I was like, what? Oh my God, I thought that this would be safe. How often do I do like self-help stuff? It's just so fat phobic. It's just, you just expect it, right? It'll be like, oh, how to improve your productivity. And it'll be like, don't be fat. You're like, how the fuck did you crowbar that into there? And they'll talk about diet and stuff. It's just, that's why I can't read self-help stuff anymore. But anyway, I thought this was going to be safe because it's run by my therapist company group, and they are excellent, right? And so afterwards, me and another fat person were watching this video. We were both like, in the group saying, oh, wow, that was fucked up. And then the leader was like, yeah, that was fucked up. And then afterwards, I sent an email saying, hey, that was really fucked up. And And so she sent a beautiful email in response. She had contacted Brené Brown Company and saying, hey, this is fucked up. And she said, we're never going to share that thing again. And also, did they give me like a free session or something? I can't remember. Something. It was like they did something. And I was like, actually, I feel so, even though the bad thing happened, right? And it wasn't the worst thing in the world. But, you know, I thought I was in a safer space, and then Brené Brown comes with, don't be fat. Even though that happened, my respect and comfort and feeling seen and heard level increased afterwards. And that was like a really beautiful thing for me to experience, because it really made me feel like it's okay if I fuck up. And obviously I've been, you know, we quote know that it's okay for us to fuck up. But seeing that the fuck up made the relationship better, and it's almost like you will fuck up and it's the way that you react. And so with kids, like, you will fuck up, same with everyone else, and then it's a way that you can humbly say, I fucked up, and what can I do to make it better? It's probably I don't want to say if it's an even better lesson. Maybe we can try and not fuck up people, but you know, that's just not possible a lot of the times, because it's humans talking to other humans. Yeah, so okay, remember there's that removing the weight loss ads from your feed hack as well in the show notes. And if you enjoyed the episode and you feel like it, why don't you write a review? Huh? That would be amazing. And you can add to the review list of saying the show's the Mutts Nuts, they're the Mutts Nuts. Because we've already got a couple of Mutts Nuts on there. I think sometime I must have said Mutts Nuts. And anyway, go and add a review if you feel inclined. And I'll see you in the next episode. Okay. See you in a while, alligator. Stay fierce, fatty. Goodbye. Thanks for listening to the episode. And if you feel ready to get serious about this work and want to know when the doors open to Fierce Fatty Academy, which is my signature program where I teach all about how to overcome your fat phobic beliefs and learn to love your fat body, then go to fiercefatty.com/waitlist. Again, that is fiercefatty.com/waitlist to get your name on the waitlist for when Fierce Fatty Academy, my signature program, opens.